In this video, we will discuss about Barkhausen criterion for oscillation, and in all the questions of oscillators, you will have a simple question, that is, what is Barkhausen criterion? And I will discuss some questions asked in the examination. The condition A beta is equal to 1 for oscillations is called as the dash criterion, Barkhausen criterion. The answer will be Barkhausen criterion. You should remember this question, that Barkhausen criterion means it is a condition. What condition? The condition is A into beta, which is equal to 1. I will discuss what is A and what is beta and why A beta equal to 1, or why it is called Barkhausen criterion. So in the second question, you have what is Barkhausen criterion. Here I will discuss what is Barkhausen criterion. In the previous video, I have discussed about oscillator. You should watch the previous video about the oscillator before watching this video. In oscillator, we basically use positive feedback. Okay. In oscillator, we use positive feedback amplifiers, and in case of positive feedback amplifiers, the overall gain after feedback is given by AF is equal to A divided by 1 minus A beta. And what is AF? AF is the gain of the amplifier with feedback. After feedback, the gain of the amplifier is equal to AF. And what is A? Gain of the amplifier without feedback. If there is no feedback, the gain is equal to A. If there is feedback, after feedback, the gain is equal to AF. Then what is beta? Beta is the feedback fraction or feedback ratio. Okay. So if you multiply A with beta, then it is called the loop gain. So this quantity A into beta, it is called loop gain. Now you look to this expression, AF is equal to A divided by 1 minus A beta. If A beta is equal to 1, what will happen? If A beta is equal to 1 or loop gain is equal to unity, then this is called the Barkhausen criterion. Is not it? And remember, A beta or the loop gain is a complex quantity and a function of frequency. A beta is a complex number or complex quantity, and it is a function of frequency. And the frequency depends on which circuit. I have discussed in the previous video. The frequency of the oscillation in case of the oscillator, that depends upon the L value or C value or R value. In the oscillator, you have RC oscillator, you have LC oscillator. In LC oscillator, the frequency value depends upon the resistance and capacitance. And in case of LC oscillator, the frequency depends upon the inductor and capacitor. So A beta, that is the loop gain, it is a complex quantity and it is a function of frequency. You should remember this. Now watch to this expression. If A beta will be equal to 1, if A beta will be equal to 1, 1 minus 1, this will be equal to 0, and division by 0, that will be equal to infinite. So the gain after feedback, AF, will be equal to infinite if A beta is equal to 1. Infinite gain means there will be no loss of energy. Okay, there will be no loss of energy. You have given some energy to the oscillator, and there is no need of giving any more energy to the oscillator to function. So this is the basic principle in the Barkhausen criterion, that is the loop gain is equal to unity. You have to choose the value of L or C in LC circuit or R and C in RC circuit, so that the value of A beta, this will be equal to 1. Okay, this is in your hand, you can choose it. And that is, the amplifier gives an output without input. Thus the amplifier becomes an oscillator. So when the amplifier becomes an oscillator, when the A beta, that is the loop gain, will be equal to unity, and this is called very important question. This is called Barkhausen criterion for oscillation. And if you have a question that state the basic condition for oscillation in a feedback amplifier, that means you have to explain Barkhausen criterion by using a simple block diagram. You see, this is a block diagram, and this is a amplifier, and this is a feedback circuit. Suppose the input is Vi, the output is Vo, and the input given to the feedback circuit, that is equal to also Vo. Then what will be the gain? The gain will be equal to beta, what you call the feedback fraction or feedback ratio. This is also the gain of this feedback circuit. So beta will be equal to output by input, and output will be equal to beta times the input. So this output will be equal to beta times the input, and this output will again feed to the input of this amplifier. Okay, then now what will be the output? The output will be equal to gain times the input, and what will be here the gain? Here the gain will be equal to A beta, and this is called the loop gain. This is called the loop gain. Loop gain times how much? The input. Okay, loop gain times the input, the output. This is called the output after feedback. This is called the output after feedback. So when the output after feedback will be equal to the output before feedback, that means there will be no loss. When there will be no loss of voltage, there will be no loss of voltage if this factor A beta, that is the loop gain, that is will be equal to unity. So the basic condition for oscillation in a feedback amplifier is that the feedback must be positive or regenerative, and the loop gain must be unity. That means it must satisfy the Barkhausen criterion. You have some previously asked questions, that is the feedback must be dash and the loop gain must be dash for oscillations in a feedback amplifier. What type of feedback you use? The feedback must be positive. Okay, and what will be the loop gain? I have discussed the loop gain must be unity. For oscillation, the feedback must be positive and loop gain must be unity. The next question is the frequency of oscillation of an oscillator is determined by the dash network. Which network determines the frequency? I have discussed in LC oscillator you have the value of L and C. In RC oscillator you have the value of R and C. These quantities which are used in oscillators, they determine the frequency. Okay, in oscillators I have told you, in the previous video I have told you, in feedback oscillator you have either LC or RC. Okay, LC means Hartley and Colpit, they are LC oscillators. In LC oscillators we the frequency of oscillation can be determined by which value? L value and C value. And in RC oscillators, that is the phase shift oscillator and Wien bridge oscillator, the frequency of oscillation are determined by R and C value. So these are some basic questions from the Barkhausen criterion for sustained oscillation, and in the next video I will discuss about the oscillators, different types of oscillators. And if you are gaining some knowledge from these videos, then share and subscribe this channel for more videos. Thank you.